Okay, welcome to episode 13 of us making Joust. So, today's gonna be, I'm hoping, fixing this input stuff now that we're calculating stuff based on dx rather than speed tier. We've got a handful of problems, the biggest of which I think is like the was pressed versus is down logic for inputs, because what's screwing us is like if we're moving right and we need to stop, or if we're moving right and we're grounded, pressing left should make us stop, which sets our dx to 0. But also, if left is down, we need to be incrementing our dx to the left. So the problem comes when left is pressed, which sets us to dx is equal to 0. But then our is down, if left is down, logic also gets called, because as far as the game's concerned, we're stopped. But that's on the same frame. So like we would stop on the same frame, we would press left, that would stop us. But then on that same frame, it's like, oh, since left is down, let's start moving left. But that's not what we want to do. Because we want to be able to just stop. And then if your left is down, like this is where this idea for this turn timer came, where it's like, hey, if left is down and you're stopped, only turn left if your turn, if left is held for longer than whatever it was, 1/5 of a second. In this case was 1/2 a second. I was messing around, but that's all busted. So I think the move is, so another thing is, like, one of the trickiest parts of this is finding out which types of logic need or should be included in an else-if block. Now that becomes necessary only if we have some contradicting conditions. So anything that is similar enough where they would be executed and overwritten by subsequent code should be put into an else if. But the same logic goes for stuff we don't want to do that happens. Hold on, let me think about what I'm trying to say. I think I'm trying to say that the if we put everything in an else if, it can it can be bad, because shoot, man, I really don't know. I thought I had a point to this, but I think what I'm trying to say is, like, if all of our left input is put into an else if block, then only one thing can happen at once, and therefore our logic and the order of operations for our logic needs to be perfect. But it's okay. I think I think the move is, since a lot of this stuff is hard to debug, especially if it's in the else if statement block, it's very hard to see what's executing and what's not. So I think the move is only put it in an else if block if it's kind of directly contradicting, or like if the conditions in which the else if need to be executed are really similar, like they would overwrite. Yeah, if one of the inputs would, I think we just got to try it. I think we just got to start implementing stuff and slowly figure it out, because it's busted right now and it's very complex. But I think we can simplify it. I think everything in like all of this is in a big else if block, but I think that's screwing us. So we just got to use logic to implement it correctly, which is so stupid to say because that's all programming ever is. But I think part of what can help us is to kind of visualize not only what all the inputs can do, like what left can do under what situations. So like, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, this skid flag, let me see. I'm trying to find like this, this turning left in midair is part of the else if block. But since pressing left when I'm in the air only really ever has one result, which is just make us face left. It doesn't mess with our DX. Actually, that's not true. We figured out that if you're holding left and you flap your wings, it'll start to actually change your direction, which we have to still implement that. But this doesn't need to be in an else if block because the not self-grounded takes care of that. Like we can just have this be an if we're not grounded, then worry about that. So it could be more streamlined, but shoot, man, shoot. It's so tough. So I think we need to figure out which conditions need to be in an else if so that we don't accidentally overwrite the correct desired output. And then we need to make sure that all of our separate if blocks do not coincide and overwrite. Gosh, I'm trying to think of why. This is very difficult for me to try to wrap my head around because I haven't done this. Like I haven't had experience programming where just pressing one button can do so many different things and what the order of operations is for that. And when to specifically use else if statements and when not to. But maybe all of our grounded logic is in one if and else if. Because, so I guess the downside of putting it in one big else if is if the order of operations is wrong, or the conditions aren't perfectly perfectly articulated, then we can never get to the bottom line of code because it exits the code before it gets a chance to execute. So I think we want to pair blocks of logic into else if blocks under the circumstance that they're similar conditions. Like we should have an else if block for if we're stopped. We should have an else if block if we're in the air. We should have an else if block if left is pushed and we're currently moving right. That way we make sure we don't accidentally overwrite any of those other conditions due to the order of operations of our else if block. So the else if is necessary only if the conditions are similar enough they can be paired, but that they need to be paired so that shoot, it's hard to articulate. And I don't even know if that's speaking right, but you got to try something because it's all busted. One idea I have for the fixing the left only stopping and not moving us left right away. Because this turn timer does make sense, right? Like, no, actually, this kind of should work. Like, I'm trying to say, like, if we're moving right, we press left, it stops us. Then left is down. So increment turn timer, but not greater than. We don't turn around until we're past that timer. So that actually kind of makes sense because we're asking if we're facing right. Because we want, if our dx is 0 and left is pressed and we're grounded, we want to increment our dx to the left, but only if we're already facing left. It's so hard to visualize this. Like maybe the sorry, this is so boring, y'all. I'm just trying to work it out in my brain. I think the move is to group similar conditions, like put all the facing right. So like right now we have it where this is all my left input and then this is all my right input. But that's just to kind of help me visualize it. But what we probably should end up doing is like group them into their appropriate else if blocks and then have the corresponding right input next to it, because as we're going to be, typing this logic out, we need to make sure that our right logic is consistent with our left logic. And if we have to scroll down to see what our, corresponding right logic for that same desired logic, or, same desired output just for the other input. And then we have to be really specific with our comments. Yeah. Shoot, man, it's very tough. What makes it super even more tougher is until you've got the right logic to correspond with it, you can't truly test the things you want to test, because if the right inputs aren't working as intended, it's going to give you messed up results for our left. So it's like, since it all works together, it kind of all needs to be there. So that's kind of why I'm thinking we block them into similar conditions, and then have the corresponding right input, and make sure that the logic is sound and same for that. That way we can just troubleshoot easier. So that, because if one thing's happening one way on one input for a certain condition, and for that same condition on the right input reversed, it's different. It's just going to be really hard to debug and actually do this thing correctly. So I think a good step is to try to separate them into similar conditions, pair them with their opposite conditions, like with the right it was pressed. And then troubleshoot and debug and whatnot. So, but like, just as an example, even with our missing, changing our DX while we're in the air and flapping logic, we're missing that. But just look at this. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 different things that the same button does. One input does at the very least 8 different things, which is hard to wrap your mind around. It's not something I noticed, or it's not, when you're playing the game, it's so seamless. Like, you don't really think about that. You don't really think, most games, like Mario, what does right do? Oh, right moves you to the right if you're not hitting a collidable. That's all right does, or, But all of this, it's really cool, but it's very complicated. Okay. Let's actually code, because we've only dilly-dallied. Okay. Where do we even start, man? Like, do we start with facing right logic? Do we start with taking everything out of an else if? Part of me thinks we should just start it from scratch, but the other part of me is like, that's just unnecessary, because we've got most of the conditions already. Whether or not we're implementing them correctly is a different story, but we've at least got a lot of the conditions. So almost all of these things are, other than this one, everything is kind of grounded. So yeah, so you know what? Yeah, we can do. I'm thinking about this in such a small way. Like, okay, sorry. Let me just try to implement what I'm thinking and talk you through it. Basically, we're asking this question. is grounded, is grounded, is grounded, is grounded, is grounded, is grounded. All of those things only happen if it's grounded. So that's just such a waste. It's also, you know, all but these two, all but this one and this one are if it's facing right. So I think we can streamline this and say, you know, if self.grounded, then, and that gets rid of, you know, we can put all that grounded logic in there, take out the grounded, and that just streamlined it, you know, quite a bit. But the second thing we got to check, we got to say, like, if facing right, right? Self.facing right. Then, and then right here, you know, like segmenting it out into stuff, into blocks like that gives us the same functionality as the else if, but it's also more compartmentalized and helps us stop from making those mistakes, you know. Okay. So and then, you know, there's more like okay, we'll just have to see the similarities. So let's put everything that is self-grounded needs to be moved into this loop. And if it needs to be facing right and grounded, then it needs to be moved into this one. And then we can reevaluate and see what other blocks might be necessary. It just helps the flow of the code. Instead of the else if, we just do a branching if, checking two conditions, you know, or whatever. That could help us a lot. So all this is grounded and this is facing right. So this is ugly and hard to look at right now, but I think I'm just going to go the ugly route until I get everything in there. Then I start making it clean, because these if statements aren't going to have the right end statements just yet. And it's going to drive me crazy if I try to fix it all instantly. So I'm just going to migrate everything, then change it. This is also, and see, look, this, you know, if left is pressed, that's another block we can put up here. And then the shoot, I don't know. We'd have to do a corresponding right input one, but at least this makes it easier to look at. So this is grounded and facing right. Then this is grounded and facing right. Come on. Mother. Okay. we'll worry about the proper end statements once everything's in there. I think this is actually like that. Facing right and grounded. And you know, we probably need to change the order of some of this stuff, but once it's tinier code, easier to look at, better segmented into these blocks, it should be easier to do that kind of stuff. So God damn. This is crazy. Pressing left can do so many things. Who would have thought? You know, until you try to make it. Okay. This is not facing right though. Wait. I mean, it is facing right. I just omitted it. Because that's how we have to turn left. So you can only turn left if you're facing right. So, oops. Don't want to do that. I want to do that. Okay. Grounded and not facing right. So this is grounded and facing right. Grounded, not facing right, not facing right. Okay. Okay. So then I guess the question is, after this, we can say yeah, the ends are gonna give me a little mini headache, I'm sure, trying to figure it out, but so if we're grounded, we can only ever do some of that stuff if left is pressed. Else, if we're not grounded, then if we're, so that's all the area logic, which right now there's only 2 things, but we need more. Okay. Shoot, man. Shoot. Okay, whatever. Holy crap. Okay, let's just try to make sense of this now. Wait, was there... Not grounded, okay. Okay, so the idea is now we can take out any grounded and facing right logic because it's redundant now. And that'll help us look at what the heck we're doing. Grounded and facing right. So the other commonality I'm noticing here is if dx is 0. So we should probably have that in another loop or another, if it's facing right, then if it's stopped, do another one. And then we can have a, if it's a moving left or a moving right, just to help us see the flow, So like this is aerial handling. Okay. It's already, look at how much smaller it is already. That's so much smaller and easier to read. So we have, that's a moving right in speed tier 1, and this is a stopped. So we can say then if our dx is equal to 0, do this input handling, anything with a dx is 0 here. And here. And this will help us see the flow of what we need the upper order of operations to be, so that nothing's getting overwritten, or if it needs to be in an else if block, that sort of jazz. I think this is a good move to do it like this. Just makes it easier to maintain and see what's happening, Okay. And then the other, there's another commonality, which is this, which is if I'm in speed tier 1 moving to the right. And I say speed tier 1 just because that 0.4 is the speed at which a fifth of our ramp speed became. Does that make any sense? 0.4 times 5 equals our 1 second to max speed. So this is saying 1/5 of our total ramp up speed, but we're not standing still, so we're moving to the right in our speed tier 1 is what I've been calling it, because that's what it used to be. Speed tier 1 used to get assigned 0.4. So we need an else if, if we're stopped, do one thing, but if our dx is to the right in that speed tier 1, because the thing is we have to signify if we're in speed tier 1 there, because pressing left when we're not in speed tier 1 should do this activating the skid to be true. So So we've got this. And we've got this. Wait, yeah, this too. My God. Okay. Okay. So yeah, if our dx is 0, do one thing. If our dx is in speed tier 1, moving to the right, do another. So like this is moving to the right. This needs to go in the moving to the right logic, but okay, so I'm already confused on if we should do, because basically the else if I'm doing here is being like, is checking the velocity. So it's like, hey, if we're stopped, do one thing. If we're in speed tier 1, do another thing. And if we're greater than speed tier 1, do another thing. Is that right? Because this is the, if we're greater in speed tier, do another thing. Oopsie. Okay. Okay. This is already looking so much prettier. And then we've got our aerial handling. So even though, gosh, it's hard to see. So we have to take out, you know, this is unnecessary now. And another part of me is thinking, well, another part of me is thinking that we factor out the was pressed and the is down to separate stuff too. Like I mean, like up here, say like, hey, left is pressed, then check if grounded, then check if facing right. You know, I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but I don't know why. I mean, because I'm just confused about the was pressed or the is down kind of overriding each other. But yeah, it's because, yeah, I think we just leave it in its smaller code blocks, just because the because if it is down, was pressed will also get triggered. So if we have the if was pressed, it's really saying it would execute all of that because it says it was pressed, but it really is down as well, and that logic wouldn't get executed. So I think we do need to keep it separate. But look at this. This is like, this is so much tinier, you know? yeah, look at how streamlined this becomes. And it helps us see the flaws in our logic too, because it's less to look at. Okay. We can take out, oh no, because this is, self-grounded. This is moving us to the left when left is held. And we're facing left. Oh my God, oh my God. So why did I have this in aerial handling? Let me see the, yeah, I only really have the one. Holy crap. Part of me thinks this stuff should be in the blocks as well, or at least in the yeah, the if. Well, no, because it's not. Well, I was gonna say it's not asking for input. It's just okay. Maybe that is fine that that's outside. Because it doesn't have anything to do with what direction you're facing. Actually, hold on. Greater than 0. Is there a greater than 0? Oh no. Here. Yeah, I think it's best to keep it out because we've got too many conditions. Too many right velocity conditions to make it pretty. By pretty I mean like to make it just because like this, every frame needs to get its current x position plus its delta x, change in x. So I think it's okay that that's separated, although I think it should be closer to everything else. Here we go. We'll put it right after R. Right, logic. Okay. But yeah, look at this. Here's what our right input was looking like, and here's the start of what our left input is looking like now. Look at that. Look how smaller that is. And then this has to go under grounded and not. This is, gosh, okay, hold on. So this is not facing right. So if facing right, do something. Else if facing left. And the thing is, since this is a Boolean, I don't have to do the else if, but it doesn't hurt to do the else if because it just makes it easier for me to read. So I can get rid of it later if I want. For now, it's verbose. So this is, oh, we're already grounded. And we're already not facing right, I mean. So yeah, if facing right, do that. Else if not facing right, do this. If we're not skidding and we're moving right. So yeah, I have to add much better notes here, comments. Then if self-grounded, which needs to be here, else if, oh right, I already have that right here. Else if not self-grounded, then pressing left, and we need to add left velocity if left is down and flapping. We need to add that. Okay. So we only want to increment our dx to the left when we're in the air. Holding left, we're facing left. We can add this is redundant. And if left was pressed and space is pressed or flapped, we can do flapped because our space logic right here, actually we don't have a flag called flapped. We just, so yeah, maybe that goes here in our space logic. Because space will modify our dy, but it'll also modify our dx if left is held. So maybe we put that there instead. Because you can't modify the dx without pressing space, so it kind of makes sense for it to be there. Well, can't modify dx when you're in the air unless you're pressing space and left or right if you're going the other way. Jesus, okay. I'm feeling much better about this. Yeah, I think we need to add that at our space logic. So I'm just going to put that note there. Okay. So the idea here is like if 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 we press space or jump, or if we press jump, then our dy is traditionally positive because gravity is being applied. So if gravity is applied, then dy is a positive number. So this code block is saying if our gravity is basically if jump is pressed, set our dy to negative 0.4. But if, shoot, maybe I don't know what this is for because it's smaller than, oh no, yeah. Yeah, so if jump is pressed, we'll get a negative dy that starts being applied by gravity, so it's getting closer and closer to 0 until it gets higher than 0, which it starts moving downwards. So if jump is pressed in the time that our dy is smaller than negative 2, meaning pressed right after our after we just pressed it, give it a higher negative velocity. So it's like, depending on how fast you tap it, you know, you can, if you tap it a lot fast, you can go up really fast. But if you just tap it every once in a while, it'll be like, huh. But yeah, there's a couple different rates. I've got it split up into 3 different rates, but you know, that's just how I implemented it. I'm sure it's not exactly right, whatever. But in case you guys were curious what that code was doing. Okay. Part of me doesn't want to do this just yet until I figure out this other stuff. Okay. Okay. We're making progress, I think. This is, I mean, at the very least, this is more readable. Easier to track what the heck I'm talking about. Okay. So the next step is going to be kind of figuring out if there needs to be an order of operations for which one of these needs to get set in else-if statements, or if they're unnecessary. And then once we do that, we can make sure all of our syntax is right, all these ends and everything is appropriate. Because right now I'm sure it'll yell at me, but I have to go to the bathroom real quick. So, I'll be back. Okay. So this is I'm feeling good about this. You know, I mean, I still have to figure out how to fix some things, but this is a good framework to help me fix things better. Um, okay. I guess it's hard to visualize if facing left. Okay. So this just needs to be turning. But gosh, this is so hard to think about. Okay. So right now we're in our facing right and grounded and no velocity logic. If left is pressed in that case, meaning we're stopped and facing right, then we're going to face left. That's correct. But here's the difference here. I'm saying, you know, if left is pressed, give me a dx of negative 0.24. Give me that slowest speed of walking. But we want to be able to just stop. So this is where that turn timer was coming in. So let's try to do that turn, because so I have two ideas for this. Like this one is getting, so yeah. This is the same problem, you know, I've been dealing with. If we're stopped, wait a second. Actually, stopped and facing left. Yeah, because we don't ever want to give our dx a negative value if we're facing right. Is that correct? But so like this won't fix the problem, putting it here in if facing left, you know. This won't fix it because if we're stopped, we press left, we'll get facing left. But on the next frame, since we're not pressing, this should be was pressed. So if left was pressed, on the very next frame, left will probably still be pressed and we would be not facing right. So we need to do the turn timer logic here. We also need our dx if our dx is 0. So if we're basically, this is if we're recently turned left because our dx is 0. God dang. I'm already knowing that this is going to mess up because, well, so yeah. I'm saying that because if left was pressed, yeah, we need to figure out turn timer. Let's see if we can't figure out turn timer. We've got turn timer at 0. So we're going to say if left is pressed and we're stopped, then we're going to increment our turn timer. Turn timer gets itself plus delta time. Then we'll only assign our dx that value if our turn timer is greater than 1/5 of a second. At which point we will give ourselves that minimum speed to the left, and we'll reset our turn timer so we can use it if we turn again. So the only thing that can screw us on this, so I think this might be the reason why the original game is kind of jank on stopping versus. So like in the original game, if you're moving to the right and you tap left, sometimes it stops and you're facing right, and sometimes it'll stop you and face you left, and sometimes it'll stop you and face you left and increment your dx to left. So I'm thinking that it all has to do with, since dx is based on how long you hold, the directional input, it's kind of, if you tap it, we want it to be able to stop. Gosh. So yeah, I think that this is the same reason why why this is so hard, is because we're incrementing that dx if left is pressed. But if left is pressed, we don't always want to increment that dx. We want to sometimes stop, and sometimes we want to just stop, and sometimes we want to stop and turn, and then sometimes we want to stop and turn and go the other way. So I think that's where this turn timer can help solve that problem, because we're trying to say, hey, if the turn timer is not greater than that 1/5 of a frame, we don't want you going left just yet. You will be right here if your dx is 0 and you're facing right, meaning you're already stopped and left was pressed. Then we're going to turn left, yeah. But we also, if left is pressed, where do we say? Here, left is pressed and we're walking. Okay. Okay. So if we're facing left and we're stopped, left is pressed, then only go left. See, and this is another problem. If we're stopped and facing left, and left is pressed, we should go left instantly. Like if we're, this is so tricky. Let me make sure I can make, so like left can just stop us. It can, come on, it can turn our velocity, and it can turn and stop us. So yeah, it can do all those things from moving left, and it's hard to get it consistent. Yeah, jeez. So I think the turn timer needs to be on the speed tier 1 logic, because that's what designates what to do, whether or not we're stopping and turning or stopping and turning and going. So this turn timer needs to be, I think this turn timer needs to be under our speed tier 1 logic. Yeah, because look here, if, yeah, I think we need, see, like I'm doing turn timer stuff here. Oh my God, all the notes are kind of confusing me actually. But yeah, I do think, did I delete this already? Shoot. Yeah, I think, oh God, it's so complicated. So yeah, speed tier 1 logic, but that can only execute if our dx is greater than 0. But at the time of stopping, gosh, yeah, at the time of stopping, our dx will be positive. So we need to give ourselves, shoot. I don't know. Because this line of code will only execute if we're in the speed tier 1. So in our speed tier 1, we need to have the logic for both stopping when facing right and stopping and turning. No. Because if we're stopped, the very next frame, oh my God. Yeah, I think this needs to be another else if. Because if we are stopped, why? If we're stopped, oh my God. I'm just, shoot, man. So that stops. Because if we just press left when we're in speed tier 1, we don't want to turn and go left if it just was pressed. But if our dx is 0, meaning we've stopped already, then we can check for the continuous input and say, oh my God, this is wild. If our dx is 0 and we're getting that continuous input, then we do our frame tracker biz, not frame checker, turn timer. No. Because if we're, shoot, this is the same freaking problem. Same freaking problem every time. Because if we're stopped, we want pressing left to make us go left if we're turned, which right now we aren't turned. So maybe we do the turn timer and then yeah. If it's oh, we're already in the safe in facing right. Shoot, man. So yeah, our facing right logic can only trigger a turn if we're already facing right, which makes sense. So if dx is 0, then if left is pressed, turn us. And then the continuous input will be for the incrementing dx to the left. So if left is pressed and we're stopped and facing right, then we want to turn. But we don't want to turn right away. This is the hard part. This is the problem I've been dealing with for the past 3 episodes. Is let's say we're stopped and facing right. If I press left, it'll trigger facing left. But here's the deal. If I press left, I'm probably pressing left for more than 1 frame, meaning I'll be... So yeah, we need the turn timer right here because we only want to... See, this is so tricky because we want to... If we're stopped and facing right, pressing left should turn us. But how do I do this? Because we don't want to turn around the instant we press left. Because if we do turn around the instant we press left, then since you can't press for just 1 frame only, it'll trigger our is down logic, which at that point will be facing left, and our dx will be zero. So maybe under our this. Oh my god. Because pressing left once while we're facing left and not moving should start moving us left at the minimum distance. But this is the same. We press it once, but on that next frame, it'll now say, hey, we're facing left now and we're 0, so automatically give the minimum distance, minimum speed to the left. But we want to be able to just turn, not turn and go. But we also need to be able to go in 1 press if we're stopped and facing left. So that's the hard confusion here. Or not confusion, the difficulty here. Because the turn timer, if I implement the turn timer, sure, it'll make us be able to stop and turn without going, but it prevents us from going instantly if we're already facing. I'm thinking of like having a just turned timer. Hear me out. If I have just turned, then left input temporarily does not make me go left if I'm recently turned left. It's very difficult because I want to be able to, you know, if I'm running right and then I hold left, it'll skid, it'll stop, then it'll turn and go instantly, ideally, which would screw up my idea of having the just turned. I have no idea how they implement this, how the original designers did it, let alone on, you know, old hardware, because like I'm using a modern game engine and modern high-level language, scripting language. It's absolutely psycho to me that they were able to pull this off. It's like it's always the same problem. It's always that problem of it was just pressed. So the is down would trigger, which would move us left, but we want to be able to stop and turn without going. So, I mean, since it is so jank in the game, like I can't reliably stop and turn. Maybe we do a little just turned timer, but have it, you know, be either a fifth of a frame, a fifth of a second, or even shorter than that. Short enough that if I'm holding right and then I hold left, it'll skid to a stop and then go fairly fast, but slow enough where I can stop. I can stop and turn, and I can stop and turn and go based on how fast I hold or how long I hold the left input. So the next question is, if I do a recently turned timer, when do I reset that timer? Because we don't want it going up and up and up and up indefinitely. Or we could just clamp it. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's try this just turn timer idea. Sorry, now that this code is all changed, it's hard for me to wrap my head around it. Let's just walk through it. Okay, so this is if we're grounded and we're facing right, pressing left if we're in speed tier 1 will stop us. Okay. If we're already stopped, see, and that's the thing, this one's already messed up too. Jesus hell. So yeah, stop us. part of me is thinking we test for, so under the scenarios where we stop and stop and turn and stop and turn and go, all of those have to do with, or can be determined under the left is down. So I guess I'm trying to say, if left was pressed, we then needed to determine how long left was pressed. If it was tapped, meaning our turn timer, if you want to call it, is less than a fifth of a second or whatever, just stop. But if it's a little bit more than that, stop and turn. And if it's a little bit more than that, that's when you give it the minimum velocity. Yeah. Yeah. So maybe we don't do the just turned nonsense I was thinking about, but rather, oh wait, hold on, I think, oi. Because right now, my stop logic is it can only stop if I'm going to the right, which is right. Yeah, so you know what? Yeah, the stopping can be hard-coded there because we don't need the continuous input. So then, if our dx is 0 or negative, right? Or our dx is 0, then we test for continuous input. Then we do our turn timer. If our turn timer this is very, very difficult. Okay. So yeah, turn timer should only see, and this is kind of screwing me too, because the instant I turn left, shoot, man, this is so complicated. The instant I turn left, I'll get out of this loop because we're no longer facing right. Then if left was just pressed, this is our same freaking problem. We just press left. Oh, I guess if in our other place we're still going on turn. Oh my God, I don't know. I mean, maybe I was onto something with the turn timer or go timer sort of deal. But basically we use a variable to keep track of how long left is pressed once we're turned, and only no, because we need to be able to go left the instant we press left if we're stopped and facing left already. So we only need to, or we can, to fix that problem, It's so hard to wrap my head around the solution to this. It's almost like we just need like an overall left or an overall input timer counter that gets reset anytime it's released. So like if we had, you know, if left is down, start this timer, upon release, you know, get 0, don't start incrementing till it's pressed again. And then that way we keep track of how long the button's pressed. And then we can say, as long as timer, you know, less than a threshold, stop. If it's more than the threshold, stop and turn. And if it's even more than that, stop and turn and go. So maybe maybe we separate all the stop and turn and go logic into one else if that has it where, you know, if it's held, but it has to stop. No. We gotta stop as soon as we press the other direction if we're in that speed tier 1. So our turn and go logic can be mapped to how long left was pressed. If it was just pressed, stop us. But if it was pressed for a fifth of a frame, stop and turn. But if it was pressed longer than that, you stop and turn, or you're stopped, you turn, and then start going left. Can that work? So like the I think what's confusing me, or the tricky part now, is that the turn logic is under facing right, which makes sense, but maybe not makes sense in the sense that we want our turn and our go logic to be both based off the same variable, which is the how long left was held variable that we're about to make. And those things don't have facing right in common because we could be just stopped. So yeah, the turn and go should be outside of this if facing right, just because they need to be paired together and they don't have facing right in common. Stopping can stay there, but outside of this, we need to do the mother. Why? How do I? Can I not just delete tabs easy? You know what? Like, I just need to do it like a big boy. So we need to, we need to give ourselves a variable called left pressed time. I don't know. And we need to say, okay, we need to say that, hey, if love.keyboard is down, left is down, then do me a favor and increment left press time by its previous time plus the change in time. Okay. And then if it is down and then is released, you are then going to reset your left press time. Okay. And maybe that should be above all this stuff. Should be like the first thing that happens. Okay. So we now have a left press time. Nice. So that only comes in handy if left is down mother. I mean, we're still dealing with the same problem of if left is pressed and we're stopped and facing left, we need to just go. But if we're stopped and facing right, then we're gonna, and left is pressed, then we're gonna see how long left was pressed. And if it was pressed past the threshold of turning, then just turn. And then our no, I think this can work. Because if we're facing left and left is down, we'll have separate logic, which is just freaking go. Don't even worry about how long it's pressed for. But if we're facing right and left is pressed, then we need to see how long was left pressed. Is it long enough to just turn us, or is it long enough for us to turn us and go us? Okay. Yeah. Okay. But we need to have those differences. We need to say, if you're facing left and left is pressed, just go. But if you're facing right and you're stopped and left is pressed, see, and that's kind of screws us too, because we're going to have to turn, at which point our code loop won't execute because we're not facing left anymore. But, mother crap, how? How? So we've got stop, which is good. We need to implement our if we're facing right, no, hold on. I can't believe how complicated this is. It's really inspiring because it's like, you know, there's left and right and jump. And you can make all these mechanics with left and right and jump. It's really freaking cool. We need to do our turn left logic, and our turn and go logic. And my question is, can that be in the same block? Because we only need to turn if we're facing right already. Well, oh yeah, we need to turn if left is pressed and we're facing right and we're stopped. But we need to turn and go if we're already facing left. So, and we're past the threshold of the left pressed time counter. So right now we don't have turn left logic or our go logic if left is held. So it's almost like we just, oh my God, I really don't know. I really don't know. Do we have our, right now, if left is pressed, we don't really have anything that says, oh, right here. We say, hey, if you're facing left and left is down, and you're moving left. Okay. So this is saying if left is down and your dx has already been incremented to the left, then you're going to keep increasing your dx to the left up to the max speed. So, oh my lordy. Yeah, because we don't want to increment our speed to the left if we're skidding. So what this doesn't do is give us an initial dx. So we need to assign our initial dx to the left once left is pressed, depending on how long, not necessarily, if we're all, oh my God. Okay, so if we're facing left, so we still need, our turn logic can only be if we're facing right, so we need to do that. But I still think our turn left and turn go are related. Our turn left and turn go are related, but our just go, if you're facing left, is separate. So how do we separate those things into some sort of order of operations? Like, if we're facing left and left is down, so without this line, it would be saying, hey, if left was pressed or if left is down and you're facing left, go already. But since we don't know how long left was pressed, we don't want to register left is down upon turning, because we want to be able to just turn and not turn and go. So the self-dx smaller than 0 checks if we're in that minimum speed distance, which our minimum speed rate going to the left. But we still need to be able to go left if we're facing right and left is I don't know how to fix this. It's the same, I keep running into the same problem. If we're facing left and left is pressed, we need to go. But if we're facing left and left is pressed, we also need to not go in the grand scheme of things. Because if left is pressed and we have just turned, we don't want to go that very instant. So so maybe right here, we still need our turn logic. So maybe since we're setting our left pressed time variable right here, this doesn't get wiped until left is released. So on every isDown function, we can judge it against our left press time and check for its current time that it's been held. So we can say, for our turn logic, we can say if left is down and we're stopped, and the timer is greater than whatever the turn time we want, then turn. And then separately, if we're facing left and turn timer is greater than bigger than, we want to go. If it's longer than the amount of time for just turning, we want to now set our dx to the minimum distance, minimum speed, at which point our dx will not be 0, and therefore if we keep it held, it'll keep going. I feel like this can work. My brain is like, big brain over here trying to comprehend if that is feasible, but I think it's right. So it's like, let's try to implement the turn left logic. We can only turn left when we're facing right. And our dx is 0. So, look at right here. So So I guess the other question is, if we're stopped and facing right, that's the other thing. If we're stopped and facing right, we always want to turn left. This is so complicated. Why do I have this both? So if we're just stopped, so, oh my God. Is there a scenario where we press left and we're stopped and we don't want to turn left? Yes. If the turn timer is greater than, if the left pressed timer is less than whatever threshold we want to turn it in. So that means, so does that mean that left can be pressed and you cannot turn left in this game? I don't think that's the case. So it's almost like we need a, oh my God, how do you do it? How do you do it? Yeah, I guess I'm trying to figure out if left is pressed and we're moving, then we need to see, I think, oh my God. Maybe we say, sorry, I can't articulate this better. I'm trying to see if I can basically, if we're moving left, holding left once we're moving to the right can do, and we're grounded, can do multiple things. If we hold it for, if we just tap it, it should stop us. If we hold it a little longer than that, it should stop and turn us. And if we hold it a little bit longer than that, it should stop and turn and go. But the problem comes in where oh, maybe so left was pressed gets wiped every time the key is released. So if we want to just go left when we're facing left, okay, we still can, and we should, but it needs to be somehow linked to if was pressed left. Mother, I don't know. how to go left upon a button press and not go left upon a button press, depending on how long that button was pressed, because it runs 60 times a second. So like it would at some point, you know, if the counter is going up because I'm holding left, that would mean at some point it's facing left and not going because I'm pressing left and it hasn't been pressed left long enough, because we need to be able to just stop and turn instead of stop and turn and go. So how do we say there are scenarios where left is held and you're facing right and you're stopped? You need to go right away. But you also may need to stop and wait to see how long it's held. How do you do that? Because we need to say, I'm thinking that we need a just stopped timer. And every time you stop, set your just stopped timer and say, you know, if you've stopped in the past second, then you can't go left until your threshold of holding left is passed. Because we want to be able to just turn or turn and go. So if we just turned, but then if we're just facing left, we need to go instantly. So we need to say like, hey, if you just turn left, do this left is held stuff. But if you've been facing left, then just freaking go. On frame 1, you just go. So that would mean anytime we turn, or anytime we turn, we say, you know, just turned gets itself plus dt. We'll initialize this later. But we also need to say, you know, we need to say if we're facing left and grounded, then if just turned is 0, or yeah, because it's like we need to say basically just turned needs to be given us values only as long as we have just turned. So like if motherfucker, how do you do this? Because if it was pressed, it'll just give you however many frames you held, just however many frames you press left for. When your dx was 0. This is so hard. This is so hard. I don't know if that'll work. I don't know how to so yeah, just turned should get, and it's almost like we need to flush. If just turned is how do we know when to flush just turned, man? It's like we would need a flag called just turned and say whenever you turn, just turn gets true, but then while just turned is true, if it's past, you know, fifth of a frame or whatever, then you're false. You can only get just turned if you just turned. That's what we need to say. And then we can say, hey, if you're just turned, then test for this continuous input that grows over time to determine whether or not you stop or turn, or stop and turn and go. But if you are not just turned, then you just go. Yeah. Then I guess just turned needs to be a Boolean. And then we need to say, we need to reset. If we would just say like, hey, if you're just turned, you know, a certain amount of time goes by and then you're not just turned. Okay. I feel like I'm wrapping my head around this problem and why it's so complex. And I think I'm starting to wrap my head around the solution. Sadly, it feels like we didn't make any progress because everything is surely broken right now. But that left input handling being this much cleaner versus all thatness is not only easier to look at, but it's easier to maintain. And I think we're wrapping our head around the complexity of the problem of the turn, stop, and go. Stop, turn, stop, turn, and go. Because we want to do one thing if left is held, and we're facing left, and our dx is 0, and we have just turned, versus if we were already just facing left, because we just want to go, but we don't want to go if we're facing left and stopped. If we were just facing the other direction. So I think we're finally onto a solution that'll get us out of this nightmare. This nightmare of running into the same problem over and over and over because you can't just press an input once for one frame, rather. You can't just push an input for one frame. And since pushing our input for one frame directly interferes, like the logic for pressing it once would, like, for example, to stop us, interferes because this logic of if left was pressed and we're stopped needs to do something different. And that's where the problems are coming in. So I'm going to call today because my brain is just jumbled. Call today as in, just git commit, a totally busted commit. But I have faith that we're on the right track. And then once we get this, if we get this turn and stop and go, which is probably the trick, other than the aerial mobility change, is kind of the trickiest bit. Then we can worry about getting the animation frame rate fixed again. But yeah, it's been what, 3 episodes of trying to refactor the speed tier out into DX so that we can get more game accurate. I'd rather spend 3 episodes or 4 or 5 episodes getting it more game accurate than just having a pseudo fix of that speed tier 1 2, 3, 4, 5, because that not only, that wasn't how it was done. It was really done with a ramp up, because you can tap it fast in the original 5 or 6 times and still not be at your max speed. It has to do with how long the input was held. So I'm glad we're doing it. It's just way more complicated than I thought it was going to be. Okay, we're committed. So probably the most quiet episode so far, because I'm wrapping my head around what needs to happen, but making good progress, and I think we can I think we can figure it out. My solution in my brain now isn't why isn't it working? It's like, if we do this, I think it'll solve it. Because before it was just like, why is everything breaking all the time on that stopping and turning and going, or just going in the first place? And now that I'm understanding the problem more deeply, I think we can do it. And then I'm hoping that these blocks and everything else, that all the logic can still come through and not be overwritten. You know, we'll have to do work on that and pay attention, but this is super good practice. Like, making a game like this with such little inputs but such great variety is just really inspiring, I think. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, and catch you later.